20 magazines through it as fast as I could go.
Even after firing hundreds of rounds on full auto, his weapon didn't jam. But it did start to overheat.
We were pouring 30-weight motor oil over all the weapons to keep them functioning. Pour that motor oil over it, and it flashes up, and I was grabbing towels, throwing on the guns to put out the fire.
For over 10 minutes, McPeak and the others fought off the Viet Cong. McPeak himself took out several enemies. Then he was hit.
A bullet ricocheted off the gun shield and got me. All of a sudden, my fingers froze up. I looked down and I thought, uh-oh.
Heading for cover, he spotted 2 enemy soldiers about to lob grenades onto their position.
When I just swung around and started slinging lead.
After surviving the ambush, the injured McPeak made his way to a nearby medevac chopper, carrying a wounded comrade with him. Once at the hospital, the nurses tried to take McPeak's M-16.
They had to pry it out of my hands. The M-16 basically is what saved my life.
Philip McPeak did his duty that day, and so did the M-16. But his experience with the weapon overheating on full auto was neither unique nor surprising.
The faster you fire, whether in semi-automatic mode or in full auto mode, the hotter the barrel gets.
Despite the success of the M-16, in the 1970s, Army engineers modified the gun once again. This time, designers limited its rate of fire to 3 rounds at a time. Dubbed the M16A2, it was an instant success. The 3-round burst not only saved ammunition, it allowed the weapon enough time to cool in between firing, and made it even more accurate.
The burst, you have to pull the trigger each time you want a 3-round burst. Therefore, it requires you to be a more deliberate shooter, requires you to think a little bit more about getting your rounds on target.
But even with the modifications, one thing hasn't changed. Soldiers still learn the importance of constantly keeping their most vital tool clean and in working order.
Maintaining the weapon is just something that you integrate into your day. You come off of a patrol, you break out your brushes, you clean the weapon, keeping the bolt clean, keeping the bolt carrier group clean. You're just always scrubbing.
Main thing is your weapon, because your weapon is your lifeline. You can't fire your weapon, and you're combat ineffective.
Sniper rifle, close quarter weapon, even a grenade launcher. The M16 becomes the ultimate transformer. As the battlefield evolves, so does the M16. Four decades ago, when Eugene Stoner designed the M16, his goal was to produce a revolutionary new weapon. One that would provide U.S. troops with a reliable, lightweight, and deadly automatic weapon. Today, more than 8 million M16s are in use by the U.S. and other militaries around the world. One reason the rifle has been able to keep up with the changing demands of the battlefield is its incredible flexibility.
One of the main benefits to the M16 is it's so modular. Basically, everything can be swapped out.
The barrel can be lengthened, turning the M16 into a sniper rifle capable of taking out its target at over 600 yards. For house-to-house fighting and close-quarter combat, a shorter barrel can be attached. It can even fire grenades. For the M16 and its civilian brother, the AR-15, there's no end to what the weapon can do.
Folks around here would frequently hear me refer to an AR-15 as a big boy's erector set.
Lou Tippy, a retired Army staff sergeant and world-class competitive shooter, has trained thousands of troops on the M16. Now he's a master craftsman at Predator Customs. Tippy and his team customize weapons for police forces and civilians all over the U.S.
This is our basic receiver. From this receiver, we can build a multitude of different types of lowers, uppers. I can have an extendable stock, or I can go with an older style fixed stock.
The lower receiver can even be transformed to handle more than the standard 5.56 round.
We've got the 9mm NATO. This one happens to be in a pistol configuration, a 22 rimfire. Then we've got the big boy. This is the 50 caliber Beowulf, full-on 50 caliber bullet, going real slow, hits hard. You could build anything you can imagine. We'll make sure everything is nice and tight.
And the modifications can even go beyond the stocker caliber. The M16A4, the latest version of the M16, sports a rail system that allows for infinite customization.
I can put specific sights, I can use optics, flashlights, vertical pistol grips. Now we've got a very versatile platform that we can literally do about anything you could ask.
Depending on the customization options, Tippy can build a gun in less than an hour.
Now we have a complete rifle. We're ready to go to the range.
Tippy's final step is to make sure each gun can live up to his specs. This particular rifle has been designed for an elite SWAT unit.
We've got a 16-inch barrel. We've got a full-rail float tube, and we have topped it off with the Advanced Combat Optical Gun Sight, the ACOG.
Because lives will be on the line when this weapon is in the field, there's no margin for error. To make certain it's deadly accurate, Tippy takes the rifle through a process called zeroing.
I need to align where the rifle is actually hitting with where my scope is pointing.
Tippy starts by setting up paper targets at a distance of 100 yards. He then shoots the targets in a group of 3 shots. The bullets land in a tight group. His build was successful. The weapon is zeroed.
Now that we're done with the zeroing process, the rifle's acting like it should, let's have a little bit of fun. Let's throw a watermelon down at 100 yards, and we'll see what the 223 Remington can do.
The 223 Remington is the civilian version of the NATO 5.56. It is a devastating round.
This is called a heavy barrel. It's the full width of the barrel all the way back to the receiver. And once again, we've got our standard AR-15 lower and a flat top upper.
With a tiny hole in the front and a big one in the back, the 223 proves the lethal effectiveness of the round.
That's dead watermelon.
To demonstrate that the M16 can be configured for distance as well, Tippy sets up the next challenge. A light bulb 400 yards away.
Now a lot more things come into play. We've got environmental considerations. I've got the sun beating down. It's real warm this afternoon. I am going to be shooting from direct sunlight into shade at this point, so I've got to take some things into consideration.
Hitting a light bulb at 400 yards seems an impossible shot, especially for an assault rifle rather than a sniper or target weapon. But on his second shot, Tippy's weapon hits the mark.
Well, it looks as if this AR-15 is going to do exactly what we've asked it to do. The groups are consistent with the test. Now what we're going to do is take her back to the shop, clean it up, box it up, and send it on its way.
But hitting targets at 400 yards isn't the most pressing need for troops these days. In fact, with the close-in urban combat of Iraq, most firefights take place in under 100 yards, and some much